2, 1, boost ignition, and liftoff, and all systems are go.
Welcome to the Lesbo and the Bean universe. Lesbo and the Bean. LATB, LaTB, where mixed martial arts and the UFC get silly. Big silly. Buckle up and move your tray tables to their upright position. And please, somebody shut that baby up. It's time for Lesbo and the Bean.
Welcome back, episode 197, the morning after, and oh man, what a morning it is, because we had, two Fight of the Year contenders back to back. It was must-watch pay-per-view. We told you, we guaranteed you money, and I'd say that we came through here at LaTB. If you're listening, you're making money, you're very welcome. How have you been, Lesbo? How was your night?
I'm doing fantastic. It was a fight night for the ages. After the co-main event, I didn't think my heart could take anymore.
Totally agree.
I didn't think, and then that main event came out, and it was fantastic as well.
And all sorts of great showings leading up to the co-main and main event. There was other bouts that would have been fight of the night on many other cards.
Atlanta got lucky. The shit part about Atlanta I found was that the audience was more educated than the judges, or is that pretty normal?
100%. No, I would say that we have seen some commissions that have been spot on, but love the crowd, as you were saying. Incredibly educated. Really shouting from the beginning of the night. Every triangle, armbar submission, even some weird transitions, the crowd was into it, where the judges kind of looked like, as you were saying, all over the place. It was boxing judges, or were they karate judges, or blind?
Yeah, that's what we kept saying, for sure. It was strike judges. Strike definitely weighed more on the judges' mind.
Strike-oriented judges, for sure. We started out the night in Hotlanta at 135 pounds. We usually stay away from these things, but we were having a debut fighter coming in 4-0 against Brandon Davis, who's had 4 fights in the UFC alone, let alone a longer career. But I thought that here, the later it went in rounds, the more we didn't see Costa, or the more we haven't seen Costa go into those further rounds, even though he's a Lozon disciple. It's just, you can't make that up. 4 quick finishes does nothing for you when you get into that second round and you can't throw that question mark kick as fast. Brandon Davis did exactly what he needed to. I didn't see the submission coming. I thought it would have been more a TKO. Both of these guys, tough guys. Brandon Davis having one of the classiest moves of the night, and there was many, holding up Randy Costa's friend's photo that he was holding up at weigh-ins, and actually held up Randy Costa's photo that had recently passed away, and it was just kind of like a life goal that Davis was there to help out. And man, what a good way to start off the night. It was a fun one. It finished.
It was a good, fun fight for sure. I actually thought both guys walked away a winner, because Randy Costa really hurt Davis going out there, and is one to watch out for. Get that cardio under control, and he's a real dangerous dude. He went out there with that Dustin Poirier power, but he didn't have that Dustin Poirier engine. So, interesting fight. Brandon Davis went out there and came back, looked better than he had in his other fights. Looked beefier. I'm okay with it. They don't deserve to be the first fight of the night next time, but...
Totally agree. Davis saves his job. Totally agree. Actually, I could see Costa being, again, one of these opening fights of the nights, because he lost, but, it's like, next fight is done. And, it's make it or break it, essentially, for him next fight, potentially, where...
I don't know. I think if you go out and leave it all in there, you could be like Davis, where you could go, if Davis would have lost, he still always has an exciting fight.
Sure.
I think that's starting to matter somewhere more, where if you're just a guy that goes and leaves it all in there, it might be more than the win-loss record. The Artem Lobov rule.
Well, I thought Conor was heavily involved in the Artem Lobov rule.
Oh, could be.
Could be. So, I agree, though. Watching these guys moving forward, they're going to have many great fights coming along their way. Moving on to 125 pounds, we had favorite Poliana Botelho defeating Lauren Mueller via decision. I predicted a left body kick finishing this fight. I was this close. I was this close to having that body kick finish. You could see the rewind on the first round after that. You could even see Mueller in the corner being like, switch left body kick. I knew it. She knew it was coming. She got ready for it. After that, she made the adjustments and held on until the decision came about. I mean, Botello looked better now that she moved up to 25. Mueller looked better than she did against her last opponent. Moving forward, I like Botello a little more than Mueller necessarily. I'm still tentative on either one of these ladies. What'd you take away from this one?
I thought they both looked better this time out than they did their last fights. So
Agreed.
I'm kind of excited in the 125 division. It's not like really deep water. So I'm looking forward to both ladies going forward. I think they both learn a lot going into this third three-round decision. And they both kept busy the entire time. Botello did look like she spent herself a little bit, but recomposed herself by the end. I didn't mind it. It was all right. So much on this fight, it's going to be one of those ones that when you're talking about it later on, you're like, oh shit, did you know that was on this fight night?
On Atlanta?
Yeah.
For sure. Moving forward, which one of these ladies do you have a little bit more faith in?
Botello.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that as well. Mueller looked good though. She improved a lot more than before. At 135 pounds, we had Montel Jackson coming in against Andre, the Asian sensation, Sukemta. The fight IQ played just as we seen it before. Sukemta got hurt a couple times standing, but all the way around, the Montel Jackson himself came in and won a 30-27 decision. Was this also one where there was a 29? I think there might have been a 29-28 round, and that was fairly egregious.
Judge.
Yeah, a 29-28 judge for Sohamtheth, and everybody was like, whoa, okay, not too far off. Two other judges got it wrong, but this is when I remember being like, oh, I remember telling you, like, hey, one of these judges just really scored that weird, just so you know, like, something to hold on to. But Sohamtheth, again, I feel like I called it spot on. He doesn't pull the trigger. Not the best fight IQ, has power, but he lets the fights get away from him, and that's exactly what happened in this fight. And Montel Jackson, meteoric-ish rise. I think Kelleher was a harder fight, so this might have been a step down. Moving forward, super tentative on Sohamtheth. Montel Jackson, still not 100. I like what I saw, but I don't think the caliber of fighter is necessarily that high, so I don't take this win as he shouldn't be a minus 500, whoever's coming up next, regardless of who it is. Did Montel Jackson pay off his 9,400 on DraftKings because he was the highest priced fighter of the night?
He shouldn't have been the highest fighter of the night by any stretch of the imagination, but he looked all right out there. In my opinion, he handled the entire fight. It was all his. Yeah. I don't think Sohamtheth looked really great anywhere, and so I don't want to get too high on Montel Jackson, but I think he handled what he needed to handle. He owned 15 minutes of that fight, and Andre is not the worst guy at 135, and he has to overcome some power because he can lay you out in this division. So good on Montel Jackson. I'm still looking forward to him crawling up that division.
All the crazy stats that Montel Jackson has. Some of the longest arms in the division and biggest hands.
I know, it's really crazy.
It's nuts.
He looks like an action figure.
Unreal. At 170 pounds, we had Belal, remember the name Muhammad, coming in against Curtis Melender. And Melender, striking-wise, had Belal Muhammad's number. But as the Bean was also saying here, once you get to the ground, Melender doesn't have the best time getting up. He did get up the few times he got taken down, which was better than his previous fights. But the fact that he was able to still get held down for 2, 3, 4 minutes at a time, this turned into a solid decision. Was this a split decision or was this one-sided for Muhammad? I'm forgetting exactly what the score was on this one. It should have
been, I think it should, I don't remember.
I think it was 29-28. And I think that Melender won the first round, and I believe Muhammad won the second 2 rounds with takedowns. But I do believe Melender won that first round striking-wise.
I think Curtis he's so one-dimensional. I don't know where he goes. Yep. He lacks so much takedown defense that I don't know where he goes from here in this division. Everybody else, I think Belal Muhammad has a really good... his grind ability is good wrestling, but he's not the best in the 170 division. So I don't know what Curtis Melender does from here. I don't know.
I totally agree. It's definitely an avenue that a lot of fighters are starting to exploit with Melender. He's definitely a top striker, but he's got to shorten up that game. And he does have wrestling credentials. He grew up as a wrestler. And that's what's really interesting about it is he gets taken down so much. But
is it cardio? Is it all cardio? Because Belal Muhammad is one of those guys that just lays out pace.
We tend to love those guys around here.
Pace, yeah. I just keep wanting to fade him, but why? He's just still biting down and going
The guys
forward.
that have beat him were tough guys. The guys that have been able, Luque and But I totally agree with you. Melender moving forward, if it's somebody with bad takedowns, all day you're going to be putting it on Melender, but everyone else is going to see that. But again, put him up against another wrestler, and it's an easy bet against him, I see kind of happening.
I think so too.
So, style-dependent matchup there. 135 pounds. We had a big underdog come through with Khalid Taha defeating Boston Cream Cheese Salmon in round number 1, 25 seconds. This ended up being all of 4 to 5 punches. Taha ended up sweeping the hand over with a left, sweeping the hand with a right, coming in with a left, knocking down Salmon, and then following up with 2 direct right hands, inside control. One of those knocking down Salmon on the ground, or at least shaking him again. If there was an early stoppage, I'd say this is it. Taha Salmon was hurt. He wasn't completely out. There was a couple other fights later on in the night where I was like, throw in the towel. Jesus, ref. Where this one, I'm like, oh, come on, ref. So this wasn't necessarily the judges, but I do think that it was a little early. It was a hard hit. He went down. He went limp for a little bit, but Ben Askren got hit harder than that.
It was a little bit of an early stoppage, but I didn't realize it till slow motion either. So if I was the judge in there, I can't hate on that kind of.
Real time.
Taha looks like a real dangerous man going forward. And Boston Salmon, it really sucks. It sucks to have your debut like that. At least he can feel like pissed about it deep in his heart that he wasn't out, because I did, after rewatching it, I'm like, oh, it was called early.
Yep.
So maybe somewhere, and he can go out there and just that be just a bitter taste for his first fight that makes him better from here. But Khalid Taha, dangerous sniper going forward. He's going to be a gasser. He's going to be a Thiago Santos.
I totally agree. I think that if he doesn't land early in some of these fights, that he's not going to have as good a showing. Salmon, though, as you're saying, it's really hard because he didn't show anything. Like, we didn't really see anything happen.
Yeah,
he put up his hand, so he's going to get another shot in there. But Taha, interesting little mix-up at 135 pounds in that wolf's den. I don't know who's going to make it to the top.
Speaking of the wolf's den, that was you calling out Joe Rogan because he must have read through his thesaurus, so he kept it fresh with DC and John Anik, that they didn't say, like, climbing to the top of this division.
Right, or this murderer's row.
Yeah, they didn't want to say the same thing so he said wolf's den.
I don't know what to think about this wolf's den of fighters at 135, and it's just like, oh, I don't know if that fits. For me, it sounds a little weird.
Wolf's den.
Yeah.
Like they're all in there chewing up the same sheep or something.
I mean, would it be a wolf pack? But it couldn't be because there had to be lady wolves.
Crawling his way to the top of this
wolf pack.
Let's see if you're on the fly, you're Joe Rogan, what would you like? Well, but they're not really a pack at all. They're actually against each other.
True.
So it's like
this warring faction.
They're crawling their way to the top of this intergalactical battle of brawn.
I would probably go with they are serving night guerrilla tactics or guerrilla tactics on their opponents. Something with dick ripping. Something with gorilla dick rips.
They are peeking like hawks over the crest of the cliff on this fine Saturday evening.
Ooh. This is getting National Geographic in this piece. This is getting deep. Ooh, I don't know if I got too many other ones. That last one was digging deep. Oh, I always want to go
These
to...
guys are like my favorite UPS guy.
Running for their lives.
Carrying the biggest package, never, ever breaking anything that's marked fragile.
Ooh. I like that. That's a getting deep. That's getting deep. You got you got to look past the words in that one.
So Joe Rogan's
Wolf Den.
Wolf Den might not have been the worst thing in the world.
Maybe it wasn't the worst. What is that? Kumite doesn't work. I was gonna say Van Damme-ish. Kumite, Vision Questing it up. What are those? Cage mixes in the cage. So either way, we'll have enough brainstorming to go. Taha, fun little addition to the division. Then we had an upset come through. Free bet from the Bean here with Max Griffin against debuting Zalim Imadayev. Imadayev came in as a favorite, being an 8-fight winning streak. He did have ties actually to... now I'm forgetting the dang name. I do believe it might have been AKA...
Khabib Nurmagomedov?
No, it was...
Just kidding. I forgot his name.
Imadayev was asked to leave a team because he was sparring too hard. I did officially see that was confirmed. Like, whatever team he was at, I think it was something like AKA, maybe Alliance, but he was asked like, hey, dude, we don't need you around here because, again, I heard speculation of that, and a week before your fight, you're asked to leave. 2 weeks before your UFC debut.
You got a shit attitude.
All of a sudden you're lacking because you're not training with the guys you need to be. But
I mean, it's Brennan's job, and I know he has haters out there, but he says you cannot win in this sport without a good team. That's not impossible. Like, it's impossible. You could be the best, most talented guy in the world. If you don't have a good team behind you, then you are not going anywhere.
Can win 1 or 2 fights because everyone can throw that punch, but long term, you will not be a winning fighter. I feel like is more... Because... It's a Tank Abbott. Like, you can go in there and get a punch on anyone. So, yeah, you might win 1 or 2, but 10 fights, you'll probably lose 8 of them, if not 9.
You gotta lean back and sometimes be the Rudy of this game, son. Take the bench, grab the clipboard, and we'll call you in the last minute in the 4th, and you can save the game. That would be my Joe Rogan moment.
I don't think it works in MMA as much.
No. We were just talking about teamwork, make the dream work.
I like that. I like where you're going with it. But this is definitely not a good teammate from what I've heard. So that's going to be something that I put in my pocket. Moving on with Imadayev. Imadayev, though, one of the first times we've seen in a long time, and one of the few first refs I've ever seen, was it Curtis Allen, or what was his name? Casey Allen? Casey McBride. It was one of the most generic names, like Jimmy Smith.
He had some white hair. He looked like he was about to pop out of a phone booth and help Bill and Ted go on an excellent journey.
And he definitely took a point away immediately from Imadayev with one of the most egregious fence grabs we've seen in a long time. I mean, he held himself up twice from getting taken down in those first seconds of the fight. And to all credit to Imadayev, he ended up getting up a few times from these takedowns and actually making it a super gritty fight. I didn't think he'd have the gas tank to go later on in the rounds, and Imadayev proved me wrong. But Max Griffin did what he needed to do, won those first 2 rounds for sure. Third round was a little bit close. I think this was one of those as well that some refs gave it to Imadayev like a 10-8, but I think it was a majority split decision win or a majority decision for Max Griffin because there was, again, that 1 point taken away. So this scorecards, I remember for a fact being funky as hell. But if you're following at Zoltanite, at Weeknight Baby, you're making money because you're getting that plus money Max Griffin bets out there. You're getting... all this for free. All we're asking for is a like and a subscribe. That's it.
Tell a friend.
That's it.
Tell your mama.
That's all we're trying to do. What did you take away from this debuting fighter against the longtime veteran, Max Griffin?
Max Griffin is settling himself in. I don't ever see him running for the title. But he will be hard to get past if all your bases aren't covered in MMA, you aren't getting past Max Griffin. He's a grinder. He has heart. He has just enough power and just enough ground skill. Imadayev Zalim, he had better cardio than I thought he was going to have in there and power all the way till the end of the fight. I think both guys are going to ruin your night coming forward, and Zalem, hopefully he humbles himself and gets himself a good team here, works under someone he respects, because coming in like that off after fighting a bunch of cans and coming up and fighting a guy like Max Griffin, he had him wobbly a few times, and with a proper camp and a proper attitude, he could be real dangerous. I would actually like him going forward more off this fight from what I've seen on such a small amount of time. It just bums me out that he's a shitty teammate.
I totally agree. And even though he lost, he was a slight favorite for a while, opened as a favorite as well. I think that it was a good showing. It's his first L time. His first loss came in the UFC. So this is a time where you see young men like this jump 2 or 3 levels in their fight side. Because now he knows, oh, I got to do this. And he was throwing some crazy spinning shit in there. At times, it was showing his lack of fight IQ, because Griffin, again, able to just duck under that spin and get some of those takedowns because of that low fight IQ. But in time, I do think that Zalem is going to have a higher ceiling than Griffin, as you're saying. Yeah. Griffin's kind of plateaued as that gatekeeper-ish into the UFC, where if you beat Max Griffin, you can start to get in that top 15 rankings. Zalem will get there. Not yet. He will get there, though. I totally see that. If he gets a team, as you're saying, behind him. At 125 pounds, we had Alejandro Pantoja coming in against Wilson Hayes. This ended up being a quick one. I had a big underdog here. One of my few bets out of the night that ended up not coming through, and got to pop my collar a little bit. The Bean did pretty good last night. Top 100 in Tapology. Just throwing that out there. Breaking the top 100 all over. So, Wilson Hayes being one of those guys that did not come through.
I only got 153 on Tapology.
That's it? Oh, top 200?
Yeah, but I did great. I got number 1 on DraftKings.
Woo!
On triple up. I always pick a stupid triple up on accident.
That's the worst.
I would never normally pick it. But I did really great on Tap. I did good on DraftKings. And I also did top 25% on Verdict.
Nice. I forget to look at my Verdict Championship scores, but I did see you being one of only 2 people top me on that. And Lesbo, just to get into it, had 7 of 13?
8.
8 of 13. Wow, that's like 65, 70%. The Bean closing out with 9 of 13.
I know, it's funny. You beat me by 1 fight, but on Tapology, I was only down by 25 points. Because I
had better picks, better straight up picks, but this one was one of those picks that you were straight up right on.
I know, but I think having that and also listening back and just staying away from stuff that I'm like, nah, I'm not going to have this anywhere. I'm going to have this on 30%. I'm going to do this. I played my cards exactly to that. I had a solid night on DraftKings. A solid night.
Oh, yeah.
It was great. I comfortably more than doubled my money.
I definitely had an even night. I broke even on DraftKings, which isn't a loss, but grinding. There was just that 1 or 2 people where I second guessed myself and mixed up lines.
Where'd you go wrong?
Where I went wrong was I hedged my bets in too many fights, where the few cards I had cashing out would have 1 or 2 of those coin flip fights. I'd have the opposing guy. Even I didn't stick with my tapping, just stay on who I had picked, because then I would have done a whole lot better. But Wilson Hayes I didn't expose to any bit whatsoever, because I did think it was going to be more of a decision route. Didn't end up going there.
The picture they use on Tapology of Wilson Hayes looks like he just got hit with a knockout punch.
Yeah, I totally agree. His chin's like flowing in the wind. But Pantoja showed he could get up really well from those takedowns, because Hayes immediately went for that double leg from the first 10 seconds of the fight. Thought it was going to work out for me when I saw that first takedown, and then Pantoja framed up incredibly well, got up, and I immediately saw Wilson Hayes be like, shit. And Pantoja had great takedown defense from that point on. Really passing a lot of the checks. He's been a hyped guy for a lot of people. I've been iffy with Pantoja, but if he can do that if he can fight off wrestlers at Wilson Hayes' level like that and get back up to his feet with the power that young man has, it's only a matter of time till you start seeing his name in that top 7, top 5 category. What did you take away from this fight? Favorite taking it over with Pantoja?
I exposed myself to about 30% on Pantoja, so I felt really good. Didn't have Hayes anywhere. I might have exposed more. I can't believe you didn't have Pantoja and you went with Hayes.
that wrestling was going to come more through. Pantoja got up from it, though.
He's just an old warrior. An old warrior, but Pantoja did look good. His takedown defense looked good, and how quickly he got back up with it. The amount of he didn't look as spent as he normally looked. It happened quicker, and he had a better gas tank when he got back up. So, yeah, I'm excited for Pantoja going forward. I want to be really excited, but I kind of think this is such a heavy fade on Wilson Hayes that. I want to see what happens when Pantoja goes against a guy and blows his wad like that, and then the guy's still there and he's not glass-jawed. But I also think Pantoja's a guy with the power that he can knock out anyone. So it's
a lot of these guys, and I think when he gets to those guys that are able to do that, it is going to be that top 10 guys.
Yeah.
So fun fight moving forward for Pantoja. Hayes, I think it is kind of time to start stepping away from it. There's enough check boxes that it's like, all right, man, you've had a long career. It's time.
You aren't trying to convince me.
At 155 pounds, we had the Steamroller coming in against Jalen Turner, Matt Frivola. If you're following at Weekneck, baby, you're getting a free bet, right? Getting that free bet. Plus, how much was it?
I think it was only 120. Plus 120.
Only plus 120. Yeah. There's a lot of bettors that only give you minus money and they charge you for that garbage. Charge you for it.
No, I feel like all of our underdogs came through.
No. My last underdog did not come through in Kelvin Gastelum. Plus 155. I ain't even mad at that. We'll get there when we get there. But I'm just saying, you're following LaTB, you're making money. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Steamroller came in, took a little harsh of a pounding in that first round, but once Jalen Turner got hit up a little bit, those body shots started adding up. He started slowing down. Turner is a dangerous striker in all 3 rounds, but wrestling and not even his ground game isn't necessarily bad, but where Turner can be exploited is he can be held in that between position where he can just turtle up on bottom and let the rounds get away from him while wrestlers like Frivola just stay on top. They're not going to submit you or knock you out, but they're winning that round because they ended up being on top of you for 3 minutes out of the 5. So I feel like Frivola, grindy fighter. I more played against Turner's fight IQ and his youth in this one, against Frivola a little bit more. I think these guys have a ton of fights left. Turner by far has a little more higher ceiling in the longevity of the game just because of how fun he can grow to, where Frivola, I feel like he might be capping out. I don't see him really turning up that next punch level volume. Yes, he's going to get better. He's still a young man, but...
He's a Max Griffin.
Yeah, he's an all-around guy.
You see him just like his rocket's not shooting...
It's not a skyrocket.
Higher.
Right.
Yeah, he's capping out. It's just capping out. It's not that he's not going to be one of the best in the world. He's just never going to be the champ. Agreed.
Where I think Turner can have that potential of just, he hits so uniquely and hard at times that he will potentially just get more shine throughout his career.
I don't like Jalen Turner at this weight at all. I want to see him at 170. I know it seems weird. I just think he's way too big for this division.
6'3".
It's so weird.
It's
he just looked odd in
unbelievable.
there. Matt Frivola looked like half the size of him, and I can't believe how well he handled him. I don't know if it was Jalen Turner's cardio. There was definitely spots that after the way other fights went, that I'm surprised Frivola pulled this out to the judges, because he definitely was grapple heavy compared to the striker Jalen Turner, and the judges were leaning towards strike. So this is one of the ones I was like, whew. Thank goodness Matt Frivola pulled this out. And I still think he's a guy you're going to be able to get as an underdog every single fight forward.
I totally agree with that. And as we were saying before with other fighters, we love grinders here on this show. We love guys that can put all 3 rounds in, even if they're hurt. And Frivola showed that.
Yeah.
It wasn't an easy fight, and he gutted it out. And that's someone you can put your money behind and just feel a little more confident that he's not going to go in there and be like, I didn't feel like fighting today. Yeah. Frivola is one of those guys that shows up to
That is a perfect
work.
sentence to say when we're jumping into our next fight. I don't feel like fighting today, Oven St. Preux.
OSP. You've been sneaking it up. You need some of that mat soap from Lather & Company. LaTB 15. Remember to get all your discounts, wherever you can. OSP is just washed up,
It can't
to
be
say
that
the least.
quick.
Oh, it can't. I thought it was a hit, in, boom, boom, in and out, in and out. I thought I played it in. I thought I played it well.
If someone's just listening to the show for the first time, you can go to latherancompany.com and use the code LATB15, and that'll get you 15% off. And for all orders of $25 or more, you will get free shipping domestically if you are on that website. And you were just talking about mat soap, which is something that it doesn't kill all the good flora on your skin.
Correct. It really helps that beneficial flora, and it really keeps away them bad germs, because again, antibiotic soap body wash is not what you want if you are on these mats. You want something that's going to help you resist it, not kill all of your beneficial flora.
Yeah, so that's it. Lappy15, latherancompany.com. Try it out.
As we were saying, all washed up, OSP. I mean, for me, it was more of a fade on OSP's age and time, and Krylov just moving up. There was though times in this fight, and ended up finishing in the second round via submission, but in that first round, Krylov got into some of these, got taken down by OSP and reached over that head exactly like the first time, and I was shitting my pants. I almost needed all other kind of soap for my shorts, because I was like, here we go. Krylov is going to give it up again, ended up getting actually back up to his feet, and I feel like after Krylov got up after that first takedown, it was a lot what I saw in Wilson Hayes, where OSP said, shit, I don't want to do that again, and slowly...
He just looked like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah,
like,
100%.
I'm good. I don't want to really get hurt. He didn't even, yeah, he had it was harsh, and they were like, listen to OSP right now. This is the sound of somebody who's about to tap. I was like, whoa, guys, that's fucking ruthless.
Well, OSP's just fighting with his namesake now. I think he's fought enough in the UFC where his Reebok and his pace have got to be top dollar. He's not getting 40-40. He's probably making way over that, because he has multiple title contender bouts. Like,
OSP is going to ruin
fights.
your night going forward still sometimes. There's still people he's going to put to sleep that aren't ready for it. And I'm telling you, Krylov, he is going to ruin your night if you're putting money on him going forward.
See that 100%. He already did against Blachowicz, which you had, right?
Yeah.
But here, I had Krylov this time, and that's where he sneaks me in. This is where he sucks me in, because then I'm like, oh yeah, he should beat this other guy real quick. And all of a sudden, he gets put to sleep with some... There was some weak fundamental grappling exchanges, even though he did eventually get out of there. There was times where I'm like, Krylov against an even better grappler, which, don't get it twisted, OSP is a tricky guy. Or just a
better version of OSP.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you're not going to get it back up, which Blachowicz did. Blachowicz showed us. So, I'm super tentative on Krylov moving forward as well. I know a lot of people are...
I stayed away from that fight, though. I'm so glad. I did not put either fighter anywhere.
I only was on Krylov. I didn't like OSP at all. Ended up working out. Ended up helping me get back into the cash, and that was definitely one of those players. For Vola, again, being also one of those DK plays for me that I went heavy on, and he paid off. I feel like he was over 86 points or something for like a 70.
He was nice.
Then we ended up moving on to 170-pounders, where Dwight Grant came in against Alan Jouban and won a 3-round decision. Semi-controversial. Jouban getting a little heated at the end of this one.
What do you think?
I honestly think that Dwight Grant won the first 2 rounds and lost the third to Jouban. And I didn't see how Jouban thought he won. And was the crowd booing even?
I don't think so.
The crowd was booing this fight, but it was because it was so low output, and because Grant kept walking away, Jouban said at the end of that third round, and he was even like, I'm sorry, guys, I'm sorry you ran. But I believe in the first or second round, Dwight Grant tore his bicep in the corner.
That seems like painful, nasty.
Yeah, people went back and listened to it, and yeah, he had torn his bicep, I believe, in that first or second round, in between rounds. So he wasn't fighting at his full potential. The strike statistics were super low. I believe Grant, even with the win, was only at like 34 points. So he was definitely a guy who limited me, because I thought he was going to get a finish over Jouban. I mean, Jouban might have won that fight, maybe not. But moving forward, what I keep seeing with Jouban is a straight-up head who moves forward on you, and someone who's firing on all cylinders, a good counter-striker, better than Grant. It's going to be able to put Jouban out. I mean, he's an action fighter, but eventually, at 37, 38 years old, he did start to slow down. As much as Grant was hurt or not able to perform, Jouban was also limited. I mean, he wasn't walking forward because those punches hurt. So, takes two to tango. I don't see why he was contesting so much. It's a game plan, moving out of away from punches and not getting in a brawl.
When he rewatches that fight, he will not contest it.
Right.
Grant won that fight.
And a lot of people were saying cutting corners in that. It was Jouban also chasing. If Jouban learned how to cut corners better, all of a sudden, he didn't have to follow him around the whole ring.
True. Yeah, both guys going forward. I don't see either chasing a belt right now, but at the 170... They're interesting guys to get past. Alan Jouban's a real name, so he's going to always be fun to have in a card till he decides to hang him up, which he is getting older, and Grant's still a younger guy coming up the division. I'm curious. We'll see. I just think he becomes more well-rounded from this. Another war from Grant. He's had a good year.
Definitely agreed. Other Beans bet. Was it Dwight Grant? Plus 100?
I don't know.
I believe I had another one. It was Gastelum. Who was the other one? It was, I don't think I had one on the other. Either way, that ended up being even money. Moving forward, super tentative with either guy, as you're saying. They're not going to be making any title contentions anytime soon. At 205 pounds, we had Khalil Roundtree come in against Eric Anders. Your boy ended up getting beat down like back in the day, like it was 1987, via his own retweet afterwards. This was one of those times where I have never, ever, ever seen somebody go down 4 times in a fight and not to have the fight get called. In the second round, in the first round, Khalil Roundtree tore up Eric Anders' leg, which pretty much limited that fight to Anders not being able to punch or really move, while Roundtree bounced around with great Muay Thai. Second round, Roundtree knocked down Eric Anders 4 times. Verdict only allowed me to score it a 10-7 because I would have scored it a 10-6, technically, if I would have been able to. I had to score it a 10-7. I was calling for the corner. The announcers were calling for the corner to stop. Everybody was saying, you got to stop this fight. Eric Anders came back in that third round and arguably almost won that third round. Khalil Roundtree dominated that fight completely. Here, as an underdog, it wasn't a free bet, but I did end up picking Roundtree on the show. I stuck with him. He was a big guy on my night because he really stacked up the points with the striking. I don't necessarily know if Roundtree does that to everybody, though, and that's where I think people are... Roundtree does this. He knocks out Gokhan Saki. He knocks out guys that are or middling at that, where Anders, I think, is on the way down. And Roundtree is still... There was times in there where I'm like, oh, okay, Roundtree, against a better guy with better cardio right now, you got to keep your hands up a little bit better. And that's where he'll get caught with a, like, oh, I'm good. Boink. And then he's night-night. So, what'd you take away from this one? It was a brutality at its finest.
Eric Anders is not a very talented MMA artist. He's a punching bag, and that's just what he continues to be in all his fights. You hope he has that one punch knockout power, but we're just seeing it more and more. He goes in and he is the punching bag. He's just getting picked apart by every guy in there. I don't think it gets much better for him from here. Roundtree, not excited about him either. I stayed far, far away from this fight. I didn't even mess around with it. It didn't affect me either way. But yeah, I was like, Eric Anders has got to be hurt because he looks like, what is he throwing 13 punches the entire fight?
I think something
pretty
like
ridiculous.
That. It was crazy.
It was very lackluster, and I was not impressed, Eric Anders, and I want to say I was super impressed with Khalil, but it was just like Eric Anders didn't threaten him at all. So it was just
Roundtree. Some of those leg kicks though were so hard. I mean, Khalil's leg kicks were on point. He did go to Thailand and was working on his Muay Thai. I've seen it before with Khalil, so that's where I'm like, you burned me once. You got me once. So got to be way more tentative when it's Khalil. But moving forward, liking what I'm seeing with the young man, and he's still young. He's still super young. I think only 27 years old. So he can grow. He can grow. Co-main event we go. We have one of the fight of the year contenders in Israel Adesanya.
I think I do like Khalil Roundtree. I think his last 2 fights, he's just looked better and better. And for some reason, it's really hard for me to accept him. Wasn't he a heavyweight and then he went down to 205?
Yes. But his last 2 fights were also
Against cans?
No, one of them
dare
was
you.
one of them was against Johnny Walker, which he lost his last two fights. So you only like one of his last fights.
I liked them both. I just only liked him in one of them.
I like that. So the co-main event, I mean, one for the ages. It was an interim belt. Dana White was left with his mouth wide open. The crowd, absolutely insane. I, as you were saying before, was in that boat, was like, I can't believe we have another fight after this, because from the first round to the fifth, this was action-packed. Adesanya, the better striker all around. Everybody knows that. Again, that Mexican toughness and just being able to eat a punch to move forward and land a punch started to add up. In the first round, was it? Adesanya was knocked down for the first time ever in his career, or in MMA officially.
I don't know if it was. I feel like he's been knocked out before.
Or knocked down in MMA.
Oh, I don't know.
I believe so in MMA. He's been knocked out, but it was Glory Kickboxing, so it was a different scene. So that was in the first round, and it was because his glove touched the ground. Only reason I gave it to Kelvin Gastelum in that first round. And that second round could have went to either fighter. Third round for sure, Adesanya. He got way better moving on as the fight went on. Fourth round, also Adesanya. Fifth round, clearly Adesanya. Kelvin Gastelum held it on within an inch of his life, but the striking really started to add up moving into that fourth and fifth round for Adesanya. I was hoping it would move to Gastelum. He was still dangerous at those points and able to come back with shots, because Izzy's head was bouncing around. Not as much as Kelvin's, because there was a time that Kelvin looked like Mankind in there. You know how Mankind eats a chair and his hair face whoop around and back forward, and he's just like, oh, the pain, the madness. Like, that was Gastelum, and then he'd throw a right hand and exactly. Kelvin, unbelievable toughness. He held an extra burrito in his cup the whole night. He stuffed a burrito in there because he needed something to balance out all of the strikes to his head. I mean, a showing of nothing but heart for both guys. Class acts, both of them. Kelvin lost that fight. I ain't even mad. That was one of my free bets. I thought he was going to be able to finish him this close. Izzy was hurt. Izzy had a real gut check. Izzy had the hardest fight he's ever had. And that's why this guy deserves interim belt or not. I mean, he's top contender. Can't wait for that Whitaker fight. He deserves a rest for the first time. Give him 6 months off. We'll see if Whitaker's back. If not, do you want someone else to step in and fight Adesanya, or is it unification only?
Israel Adesanya went and did exactly what I said he was going to do.
100%.
He sliced Kelvin Gastelum apart. He absorbed all of his information into his internal computer and spit out the proper code and dissected Kelvin Gastelum in every way inside the octagon. Afterward, did you watch the post-fight presser?
Only bits and pieces, so no, I did not catch it.
It was really cute. It's cute, probably not what Warriors want to hear said about it, but he said he sat up and we looked at each other like, fuck. It was cool. We knew that we did that. We knew what we shared was special. And that's cool.
Heart of a warrior.
Touched me. So I there was another cool thing on was it this one? Hold on.
You got time.
Nope, it's the next fight.
One of their quotes. We'll get there. We'll get there. But this.
But it was super touching. I thought both guys was a super class act. I thought Adesanya is the real deal. You can't question it. Kelvin Gastelum, the same. Agreed. You know you're going to see these guys in there again fight each other, and everyone's going to tune in. It was the better fight of the night. It was the best fight of the night.
Arguably. Yes, it was the best. Yeah, I agree. It was the best. It was the best fight of the night. I mean, both guys were hurt at times. There was even a sequence, was it the third or fourth round, where Gastelum hurt Adesanya and then shot a takedown. They went to the ground or Kelvin shot and then immediately Fat Man rolled. They transitioned out and Izzy got out of it, but it was just like, oh my God, my heart can't take this right now. It was so amazing. And again, that last minute, we have never seen Kelvin almost knocked out before, and he was sat down 3-4 times in that last minute. I mean, held it on for dear life.
It was insane.
It was Yamasaki approved for sure.
Both guys left everything.
Everything in there. 100% left everything in there.
I was like, I can't believe there's another fight after this. This is so good. And who would have... Yeah, let Israel have some time before Bobby Knuckles.
Got to, because he did not go in there and just not... He didn't get not touched. He got punched in that fight.
There's only one other fight anyone's talking about for Israel, and it's John Jones.
No, John Jones is a 205er.
Well, he's talking shit to Israel. Have you seen that everywhere?
I have not seen that, but I'm really disliking, like, come on, guys, you're not even in the same weight class. Give him time. You got an interim belt. Like,
Can't be. Do you think it's him
and he's going to go
down?
heavyweight. I don't think it's him talking down. I think it's really just John Jones being John Jones. John Jones doesn't like other people getting attention.
Well, they tried to bring it up during the presser, and Israel said, I'll talk about that at another time. Right now, it's all about me.
Thank you, because that's the truth. Like, yeah, man, do you see what I did in there? That guy punched the living shit out of me. We're talking about me right now. Fuck JBJ right now. Like, it's just, and all these guys, and there's a lot of people doing it. What I've started to notice on Instagram is really interesting that all of a sudden on my Instagram, I start to see a bunch of fight pictures of other people, and I'm like, they didn't fight tonight. And it's old fighters that haven't fought, or it's fighters that haven't fought in a while, reposting pictures of their fight. Like, kind of tagging into the fight night.
They're trying so hard to get that shine.
Just to take a little bit from it, and I like the fighters more that are like, that's my brother in there. They're not posting pictures of themselves. They're just like, all to them, you don't know how hard our training camp was. So, interesting little factor in there. But this one...
Great fight. It was just so... It was
back
emotional.
And watch.
If you did not see it, I agree. It is definitely one of the ones to put it on when your friends are like, oh, I don't know about MMA. Tell me what fights that I should watch to get into MMA. This would be
This is definitely one of them. One of those selfless guys that does like to tweet and not take it onto himself was Justin Gaethje live tweeting a lot of the card, talking about how, wow, this is one of the greatest fights of all time with Kelvin Gastelum and Israel Adesanya. That was such a great showing. He said he almost got teary-eyed tweeting out. And then he also said, get ready, guys, because the next fight is going to be better. And was he right? Well, maybe not better, but god dang, it was pretty close.
He wasn't right.
He wasn't wrong.
It was a great fight. It was one for the ages, but it was not as good as Adesanya Gastelum. I love Poirier Holloway, and I haven't seen anyone that has argued that.
Yeah.
I feel like it was a great fight.
That was a great fight.
Just not, it was the second best fight of the night.
In the main event.
On a lot of other fight cards, it would have been the best fight card. On a lot of other years, it would have been the best fight card of the year. It just happened to be on with Adesanya Gastelum, in my opinion.
Instant classic. But with the main event...
I disagree.
I'm talking about Adesanya. Gastelum. Instant Gastelum.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
This one, I kind of felt like Max got hurt a little too early and then stayed alive in a way that... I don't know.
So, the main event at 155 pounds, another interim belt in the works. We ended up having Dustin Diamond Poirier coming in against Max Blessed Holloway. Mini Blessed being able to stay awake for this one. We heard him during all 5 rounds. Mini Blessed was screaming. You know that boy slept good because he was watching his dad get beat within an inch of his life at times, especially in that first round. Diamond laying that right hand at will, switching up to that left, landing it, uppercuts left and right. I mean, the strike percentages were fairly equivalent, but the power differential by far showed that it went to Diamond Poirier. Max was refuting a lot of those punches by shaking his head, saying, come on, let's go. But you could see it. Max Holloway was genuinely wobbled in those exchanges and would only eat 4 or 5 punches to have Poirier try to take a breath. And that was essentially what was working for Max Holloway at times. Was there like a 25 punch combination in that first round where I thought Poirier might have gassed himself, but ended up actually sitting back in that second, third, and fourth round and sitting on the damage that he did in that first? Because as you were saying, Max got hurt in that first and never really got back into that fight. He did wake up a bit more because he has traditionally a slow starter, but even when he was landing his 4 and 5 punch combinations in that 4th and 5th round for Max, Diamond was returning with 3 or 4 and hurting Max way more. The damage was obvious. There was a knee in there in that 4th that split Max wide open. Dustin, swollen eyes, bruised up, nose looks okay. Didn't have, really not bloody, not even swollen, lipped up. Max Holloway was beat from pillar to post in there, black and blue. All over.
I didn't think so. I just think he was bleeding really bad from between his eyes. And
Did he
so
have
it was making
swollen?
him bloody everywhere.
Did he have swollen eyes at times where I thought he looked like his eyes were swelling in at times?
He looked like just how he looks. Like he gets cut over here. He has a soft spot over the left side of his eye. But I also think that if you rewatch that fight, everyone, that entire friggin' fight was decided by one takedown by Dustin Poirier. Other than that, Max outstruck Dustin. So it was one takedown. That is what the whole entire fight had to have been based on.
I think what you were saying earlier, though, with the judges and these being strike-centric judges, it wasn't even the volume, it was the damage that they were taking into account.
It was damage over...
Because Holloway was bouncing around, and it looked like there was times he was almost going out, and we never saw Poirier in that spot. He was never almost out.
Yes, he was.
Was he?
Oh, yeah. He was
hurt
really rough rounds.
Yes.
2 really rough rounds. Yes. Like, there was a couple of times that we thought Max was taking over as it was going forward. Both guys was tough. It was brutal. It was one of the best fights ever. It just happened to be on with Adesanya Gastelum, which was so crazy. And Dana did give both fight of the night. So they both guys, everybody involved in that main and co-main got bonuses, which it should have been.
Rightfully so. And here, right as we were finishing our breakdown of this last one, I feel like I was saying, real quick, Lesbo, who has the better leg kicks in this fight? And we both said Diamond Poirier. If there was even a less leg kick mentioned in this fight, it was only Dustin Poirier throwing them.
Yeah, only the first round, just a couple I remember. And, the only submission attempt came from Max. So it was a really close fight. And
but how do
Dana immediately afterward, I didn't like that he said, I want Max to go to the hospital. He looked really small at that weight. So I want him to go right back to 145.
He looked bigger than Diamond.
He didn't think so. Everyone was saying how big Dustin looked in there, and he wants Max to go back to 145, and he's going right to the hospital.
Max looked humongous to me in there.
He got a knee. He took a knee between
brutal.
his eyes, and it split open. And before it started to bleed, Diamond saw it, like after he hit him, because they were talking to each other in there, and he's like, "Gotcha." Diamond said something really touching. I don't have a photo of that. I thought I had another one of it. That's the other quote I was going to say is, you have 25 minutes to make the world fair.
Oh, I did see something along those lines.
That's cool.
That was really, really good. I absolutely love talking about class acts. We've been talking about it all show long. Max Holloway saying, hey, brother, you didn't win this interim. You beat a real champ at 145 pounds, and you beat me tonight. You're a real champ. This ain't no interim belt. You got it, man. That's stand-up shit. That's stand-up shit.
Well, what about this? Khabib Nurmagomedov comes out. I don't agree with the judges. 49-46. I got a draw. My respect to both fighters and Poirier's achievement so far cannot be denied. My congratulations, Dustin. See you in September. But
did I say I had a draw last night on Verdict?
That is what I was just saying. I think the whole thing was decided by one takedown, which you could give the submission attempt right back to it, and Max actually had more strikes. So right there, I agree with you. I think you're right. I think that, and business-wise, I think it would have been smarter
to do a draw. Then you get a third for sure, because now Poirier won 2 in a row. You can't have a third fight with them. But that's how I actually scored it on my verdict.
Yes, you can. Everybody wants John Jones DC again.
True. But I scored it the first round 10-8 for Poirier. I scored the second round 10-9 Poirier, and then the last 3 rounds I gave to Max Holloway, which gave it 47-47 on my verdict.
Woo!
That's really what I gave it.
I like that.
So Khabib had the same thing apparently.
Yeah, he thought it was a draw, 49. But we can all agree we didn't agree with the judges. 49-46 is cray.
I totally agree. Either side of that fight.
I love that. So Dustin the Eagle is supposed to lead the fight.
Interesting. With all that, Connor, we almost didn't talk about it, talking about 155. But
do you think Dustin's scary for Khabib?
Yes. That power. That type of real power, it doesn't matter who you are.
And he has legitimate wrestling.
And takedown defense, for sure.
That's
for sure.
That's
That's
a
a
scary
fight.
fight. Max Holloway going back to 145. Who's he have there, really? I like him still at 155.
Volkanovski.
Yeah, there's some
But he's going to fight Aldo.
There's some monsters coming up for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a great fight.
It was
night.
amazing.
It's so
fight
crazy.
night.
You know what? We had that fight night, and you know what we're going to be breaking down Wednesday?
Woo! I don't know off the top of my head.
It's like Olenek versus
Overeem. Short notice.
Overeem.
Ubereem. Is it in Germany or something like that?
I have no idea.
Exactly. That's about as far as it goes. Cause
I'm cashed. I'm burned out.
That morning after pill got me.
Yeah, make sure you're following Lesbo and the Bean at Instagram. And we love you guys so much. Oh, yeah. And, hey, we had the shit audio last week, but hopefully this week we fixed all that. And hopefully it's even better and tweaked because we are in the new studio. New studio. New studio.
Let's go the beat.
Thanks for listening to LaTB. For all things Lesbo and the Bean, head over to lesboandthebean.com or follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.